very much for joining today's webinar, Employee Development is a Big Deal, hosted by Coggno and Vado. My name is Kat Amato, and I'm the Sales and Marketing Director at Coggno. And I'd like to specifically thank our partner community who have invited their members and clients to attend today. Coggno partners with many business segments, including chambers of commerce, payrolls, CEOs, business centers, and petroleum marketers to provide their members and clients access to hundreds of online training courses directly from their website. So if you would like some information about becoming a Coggno partner, please email us at info@coggno.com, and I'll follow up with you and provide you details about this free partnership. Today's webinar is led by Cindy and Kim from Vado. Vado is one of our content providers that we've proudly partnered with to offer soft skill courses. Cindy and Kim, welcome.
Thank you, Kat. And this is Cindy Pascale, and thank you for everyone that's attending the presentation. As a quick introduction, I started my career in human resources, and 16 years later, when I left HR as a practitioner, I was leading the HR, OD, and training and development functions. I took that experience then to lead a company offering employee surveys and 360-degree assessments, and then went to a talent management company. Combining my 25-plus years of experience, I really did develop some very strong beliefs.
And hello, everyone. This is Kim Egan. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And Cindy and I have known each other a long time, and our beliefs and how we view development align quite well. Having been involved in starting a training and development firm before starting Vado with Cindy, I've led the development of training products and services for a number of years. During that time, there was always one main theme at the top of my mind, and that is, how do you create development options that truly help people do something different to build a desired skill? And so with that, between myself and Cindy, the following development beliefs at Vado were born.
The first belief is that employees want to develop. Second, managers want to help their employees develop, and they want to engage and retain their employees.
The issue is that they just don't know how to get there. And, you know, I've always had a lot of faith in managers and employees. I truly believe that the majority of people want to do the right thing. They want to improve and do well at work. Doing well feels good. It's much better than missing the performance mark. And at Vado, we believe that people want to be great, and we want to help them get there.
Right. The issue is that oftentimes employees just don't know what to do. When employees don't know what to do, what do companies do? They put them through training. The employees learn new things, new information. They may even complete a training exercise, yet they don't know how to apply what they've learned. Since the exercises are made up or mocked up exercises, they struggle to implement what they've learned on the job. So we researched and researched the issues that contribute to not knowing what to do and not knowing how to apply what you've learned. And much of that research is going to be presented today. And we created Vado's learning content to solve these two issues. After a person takes one of our courses, they know exactly what to do and how to apply on the job. By the way, all the research sources are cited, that we cite today, are going to be listed on the last two slides. So if you're looking for a certain study, you'll have that available to you. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to first talk about why development is important, the difference between training and development, what the research shows. We're going to boil that down into some development best practices, and then talk about how Vado's courses are delivered. So development is important for a number of reasons. First, it's on the top of your CEO's list. According to a study by I4CP, CEO's top critical issues are as listed. And you see there, leadership development is at the top of the list. According to Burson by Deloitte, the Corporate Learning Factbook, the largest share of the learning and development budget, which is 35%, goes to leadership development. And 60% of companies cite leadership gaps as their top business challenge. And employee development impacts several others. on this list, like succession planning, strategy execution and alignment, talent management, and performance management.
As an HR or training and development leader, this is important to remember. It helps create the business case for development initiatives. We can use this data to help leaders understand why a particular program or initiative is important. We tie it to organization results and strategy, as well as the CEO's critical issues, will have greatly increased our ability to succeed.
That's right. And development is a big deal because companies are spending a great deal of money on development. Again, according to the Burson and Associates recent report, L&D budgets were up 15%, and that represents an average of $1,169 per learner. And employees receive more development, averaging 15.3 hours of formal training, up from 12.75 hours. In fact, U.S. corporation training groups spend about $60 billion in 2014 on training and development. $60 billion, that's with a B. Worldwide, they spend about $130 billion. It's a very big number.
Yeah, and that number gets to me every time I hear it, and I think about what all of that training and development should be doing. If we want to just take the U.S. number of 60 billion, we should have the most talented and capable workforce, something that benefits everyone. But the question is, do we? Is that investment really working?
That's another good question. And development is important because organizations that commit to a culture of development, the return on investment is huge. According to another research paper from Burson and Associates, organizations with strong learning cultures significantly outperform their peers in the following areas. Market share, they're 17% more likely to be the market leader. 26% greater ability to deliver quality products. 46% more likely to be first to market. 37% greater employee productivity. 58% more prepared to meet future demands. 84% more effective at increasing the quality of their leadership pipeline. 73% more effective at improving overall employee retention. And 67% more effective at increasing the engagement, retention, and teamwork of leaders.
And chances are good that some of these results are results your company is looking to achieve, whether it be quality, productivity, market share, retention, engagement, etc. The research shows that investing in development will help your organization achieve these and other critically important organizational goals.
Yeah, bottom line, when companies focus on development, they see business results. And we have an example. Recently, the VP of HR at Stanford Health shared that they added a development discussion to their review process. The discussion focuses on both technical and soft skill competencies and identifies where the employee wants to and needs to develop to meet future career aspirations. The outcome of these discussions is a development plan that the manager and the employee agree upon. They have seen significant results as a result of adding that development discussion. And depending on the business unit, their key business metric, patient satisfaction, improved by 50 to 80%.
This story makes me think about what is really possible to achieve. Again, as we talked about in the beginning, people want to develop. They want to perform. They really do want to be great at work. So if people and companies can truly be great if they only do the right things, and the challenge is for us to decide what are the right things to do. And typically in any company, more than one person believes he or she has the answer. So as a human capital leader, using data and case studies can help you break through the crowd of ideas to show others what really matters.
Right. And according to the Accenture 2013 Skills and Employment Trends Survey, Perspectives on Training, nearly half, 46%, of executives surveyed are concerned that their workforce does not have the skills they need in the next 1 to 2 years. The Accenture study also points out that businesses are facing big consequences as a result of not fixing their skills gaps. Among companies currently facing or anticipating a skills shortage, 66% anticipate a loss of business to competitors. 64% face a loss of revenue, 59% face eroding customer satisfaction, and 53% will face a delay in product development. These are excellent statistics for those of you who are looking to support your 2015 development budget. And Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE, sums it up very well. An organization's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage. So we've established that development is important. Now we need to talk about the difference between training and development. Is there a difference? Yeah, we believe there is. And the differences between training and development start with training is focused on the employee being proficient in his or her current job, and development is focused on building for future career goals. And that impacts who? Who makes the decision? Managers decide what training the employees receive, and employees take the lead in deciding what they want to build to meet their future career aspiration. It impacts what training the employee receives is decided by the manager or the safety director or the HR leader, and the employee takes the lead on deciding what development they want to receive. It impacts when. Managers decide when training takes place, such as the first week in a new job. And the employee oftentimes will decide when they want to go through their development experiences, at home, from home, or when they need it. And it impacts where. Managers decide if training is delivered through online learning, workshops, on-the-job training, and the employee will oftentimes initiate whether development is through online courses, networking, conferences, etc. And I was at the ASTD conference in May, and several learning and development leaders were talking about the differences between training and development. And one person summed it up like this, and yes, I do have permission to quote this person: companies push training and employees pull development. I really liked how they said that. So if employees pull development, alignment, and communicating that alignment is critical. So now think about how, as a learning professional, you make sure the training and development you delivered is aligned to the business. You probably follow a process similar to this. You partner with your business leaders to understand the performance requirements of a business strategy or objective. The performance requirements get translated into performance criteria or to a set of competencies or skills. Then you determine the appropriate learning solution to build those competencies or skills to meet the performance criteria to deliver on your business goals, strategy, objectives. It's a pretty straightforward process. And actually the process I just outlined, ensuring that learning efforts are closely tied to the business strategy, is considered a best-in-class process according to the Aberdeen Group in a study recently released titled Newbies to New Leaders, Closing the Skill Gap with Learning. And since your learning is tied to your business strategy, that alignment needs to be shown and communicated to the learner. Since the employee takes the lead in deciding the who, what, when, and where of development, employees need to clearly see how developing certain competencies will lead to increased personal performance and organizational success.
This is that famous whistle, what's in it for me? And we all know it and have probably said it ourselves at some point. And there's a reason why the term has been around for so long. It matters. Each person must clearly have a reason to develop. At the end of the day, that person must do the work, take time away from the job that needs to be done by Thursday, and spend time building that skill. So individuals must have a clear reason and a desire to do this.
Right. So here's an example of how to show alignment. One of many ways to show alignment. So this is an assessment, and it's a result showing an employee's competency fit for this case. In this case, this position is a VP of HR. This person has strengths in most of the competencies, and there's one competency titled Coaching and Mentoring that's more of an average fit rather than a strength. This person may want to consider developing this competency so that it becomes a strength for him or her. And that's a perfect way to show an employee the alignment between developing competencies and personal performance. Since employees pull development, development needs to be self-paced, learner-focused. Employees want to develop on their own schedule, and they want learning to be just in time and just the right amount of learning environment. For learning to be self-paced and self-directed, learners need to be able to access the information when they need it, and that's just-in-time learning, and complete it at their own pace. Additionally, they need to be able to choose the development that best meets their needs. When these conditions are present, learners take more ownership of their learning and are more engaged in the learning process.
This is one of the benefits of technology today. The LMS or HR technology platform allows learners to access content at their fingertips when they're ready. And there's so many wonderful things about the ever-changing technology. The benefits seem to be endless. Our job is to figure out how best to use it for our company.
Right. And with the adoption of e-learning, companies experience 21% cost savings, 27% savings in study time, and 32% faster training implementation time. In the May 1st article by Sebastian Bailey, published in the CLO magazine, Is the Future of Learning Bite-Sized? Sebastian talks about modularization. That's a hard word to say quickly. He comments that modularization involves organizing an offer into distinct components to create greater flexibility for the consumer, and in this case, the learner. And modularization is all around us. You know, think about your benefit packages. Your benefit packages are broken into small components, and each component can be purchased separately. You have health care, you have flexible spending accounts, you have a 401k, you might have a gym membership, or life insurance for yourself, or life insurance for your spouse, or life insurance for your dependents. And those choices go on and on. The employee makes separate decisions on each of those components. So to modularize learning, you need to break and concentrate long courses into distinct, independent, high-value experiences. And your business leaders are demanding modularization so that development is focused on a specific need, avoiding wasted time or energy on an issue that isn't a priority.
When it comes to personal development, learners demand choice. A high level of learner engagement is perhaps the most important factor in creating a sustained change in behavior. A very powerful way of doing this is making the journey unique to that individual. Doing so increases the perceived value of the experience by making it more relevant and useful to the learner. This helps learners see the direct relevance and value of the learning, and the organization also saves money by not wasting time on experiences they don't need.
So remember that assessment that showed the person would value from developing their coaching and mentoring competencies? Now, if you are going to deliver a leadership development program for your 2,200 or 2,000 leaders, do you want to do a one-size-fits-all development program where you cover all 4 of the competencies? Or do you want to modularize your development and offer modules for your leaders to choose the one that fits their development needs? So you could offer, 4 different development modules, 1 for each competency, have people select the module that fits their needs. There you're modularizing. So according to the 80-20 rule, for many events, roughly 80% of the benefit comes from 20% of the causes. So if we go back to that one-size-fits-all development program we just discussed, your leaders are going to get their 80% of their value from 20% of the program. And that value will be different for each person. If, for example, the VP of HR will get their 80% of the value from the coaching and mentoring module, whereas another leader will get their 80% value from a different training module. And the ability to modularize your learning will reduce your costs and increase your return on investment. And here we'd like to pause for a moment for a message from Kat at Coggno.
And thanks so much, Cindy and Kim. If you have any questions that you would like to present to Cindy and Kim, feel free to enter those on your chat feature on the right-hand side of your GoToMeeting panel, and they can address those at the end of the session during the Q&A. And also you can find many courses from Vado, as well as hundreds of other courses on topics such as software, human resources, sales and marketing, social media, safety and compliance, to name a few, on your partner website. Or if you were invited to today's webinar by Coggno directly, you can visit us at coggno.com to search for courses to meet your training needs. I will be emailing everyone a discount code later today that you can use to purchase any of the Vado courses that we have available. Cindy and Kim, again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I will turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. And so where we left off is that we were just talking about the differences between training and development and the impact this has on communicating the alignment or linkage between development, performance, and organizational success, and how this impact needs to provide development in a learner-focused, self-paced format. Now we're going to look at what the research shows about instructional design. And every time I see this slide, I chuckle. Maybe it's because it's a trainer's worst fear, a bored, sleeping audience. But the title is Scrap Learning. So what is scrap learning? Scrap learning is training and development that was successfully delivered but not applied on the job. And Dr. Robert Brinkenhoff, an expert in training evaluation, estimates that scrap learning rates are as high as 50 to 80% of all learning delivered. When your employees can't put what they've learned into practice, you have wasted effort, time, and money. And I would guess most of you can probably relate to this statistic. Many of you are probably thinking about or recalling a time when you sent an employee to a workshop or a conference, or you asked them to go through online learning modules, and there wasn't any change in the person's on-the-job performance. Maybe you're thinking about a training session you went through and how much of it you applied on the job the next day or the next week. Everything you did not apply on the job is scrap.
When I think about this concept, it truly amazes me, and while I don't think anyone can eliminate all scrap learning, in any given development experience, we hear and take in what we're ready to hear. And how many of you have heard something, and only when you've heard it the third time does it really make sense or you can apply it to the situation? I know I've done this when I was ready for that information at that point in time and thus applied it then. But with that said, up to 80% being scrap, or at least half of what we learn doesn't stick, now that seems way too much, and it doesn't sound effective to me at all. I think that any business leader, after hearing that stat, would certainly say something in the system isn't working.
That's right. And if scrap learning represents 80% of all learning delivered, and U.S. corporations spent $60 billion on training, the estimated dollar value of scrap or wasted learning is as high as $48 billion. So think about your organization. How much is your organization spending on learning? Include all the costs, the time invested, travel, outside trainers. If for no other reason than wasted time, effort, and resources, you will want to eliminate as much scrap learning as possible.
And your business leaders would probably certainly agree. And I think that if you were able to show that you did this, I have no doubt that smiles and accolades would certainly be coming your way.
That's right. Now, the next piece of research shows that development happens on the job. And many of you have probably seen these statistics from the Department of Labor, that 70% of development happens on the job, 20% happens through coaching and mentoring, and the last 10% happens through formal training. Formal training includes instructor-led workshops as well as e-learning modules. And think about when you learned how to, let's say, ride a bike or swim or ski or create pottery. How did you learn that new skill? Did you watch someone do it? Did you read about it? Did you go through a workshop? Or did you learn the new skill by doing it over and over? We learn by doing.
This seems to be one of the more intuitive concepts. We all know it and have been doing it since we've been born. Doing something is always the best way to learn. I think kids are a great example. They watch us and they say, oh, I know what to do. And then they go and try and do the task themselves. And it's much harder than they thought. And they always look at us with such surprise. They need to do the movement or the action to really understand what it feels like and how to do it. As adults, we're not much different. I think about the cooking shows I like to watch, and those chefs can certainly chop and dice like no other. And it looks so easy, yet when I try it myself, I'm never as good. And only when I've done a movement or chopped that onion, 20 times in that certain way do I start to get the hang of the technique I saw.
Right. And doing increases learner retention. So we retain 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear, 70% of what we say and write, and 90% of what we do.
By doing and practicing on the job, you increase learning retention, which significantly decreases scrap learning. And since development happens on the job, it stands to reason that learning should integrate seamlessly into one's daily work.
Right. And here's an interesting statistic from Bridging the Gap, Integrating Learning and Work, conducted by Towards Maturity. 94% of respondents to their survey seek to speed up the application of learning back into the workplace, and only 23% feel that they achieved this. And I think this statistic clearly shows the need for organizations to help the learner apply what they've learned to leverage the natural way a person develops on the job. The research shows that how we take in information has changed. Let me ask you, when was the last time you watched a video to learn something new?
It could be a hobby, it could be something that's work-related, or it could have been a home improvement project. It doesn't really matter so much, but did you hit a company's website or watch a video? Was it on YouTube?
And incorporating video into your training will yield significant benefits. According to Yankee Group's Anywhere's Enterprise 2010 U.S. Unified Communications Fast View Survey, they found the following benefits of adding video to your training program. Participants learn 200% more with video. Participants absorb information 40% faster than with voice communication. Participants retain 38% more information than with audio. Video increases the power of persuasion by 43% over audio or written communications, and video increases the impact of communication by 67%.
This development in technology is a big one. We've all seen this change, so screens are everywhere, and while sometimes it can be frustrating, like when you're watching a screen in an elevator and watching advertisements, the reality is videos and screens are here to stay. But so much more than that, it's becoming an expectation. Here's an example. So over the years, I've looked at a lot of new software and technology products. I'm always looking at what's new on the market that may increase productivity or positively impact our business. And without even realizing it, I found that I would immediately eliminate a potential product if there wasn't a video for me to watch the product or software in action. That was the best way for me to see how something worked and to decide if it would be right for me or the company. Therefore, no video, no possibility for a purchase. And when it comes to learning, I use video all the time, and so does my 8-year-old daughter. She now knows to look for videos if she wants to learn how to do something. An example is drawing. So she loves art, and she found a site that have videos ranging from about 2 to 3 minutes that teach her how to draw animals. And it's pretty amazing, all these average people around the world recording themselves giving instructions for how to draw things. And this is what she's been able to do. And I don't think it's necessarily my daughter's talent, but the specific instructions given via video and the medium of the video that allows her to follow along, pause, and copy action. Video learning is making an impact.
That's right. And if you're asking yourself, so if video is so important, how come they didn't include videos in this presentation? Well, we wanted them in. If this was an in-person presentation, we would have had a number of different videos. But the GoToMeeting technology to play videos over a webinar is just not advanced enough yet to have them play well. So, okay, back to the research. Research on chunked learning. And chunking refers to the strategy of breaking down information into bite-sized pieces so the brain can better digest new information. The reason the brain needs this assistance is because working memory, which is the equivalent of being mentally online, holds a limited amount of information at one time. Dr. George A. Miller, the author of one of the most highly cited papers in psychology, The Magical Number 7 ± 2, formulated the chunks concept in 1956 as he presented evidence that working memory is limited in capacity. Simply stated, too much information presented at one time leads to information overload.
And it's interesting to note that while this research has been around since 1956, as a learning community, we are just starting to apply it. And just as with some of the other concepts we've discussed today, this makes intuitive sense as well. We've all had brain overload. We've all at some point decided to do one thing at a time without taking on too much at once. We do this intuitively. And in fact, there's biological research showing that our prefrontal cortex, which processes new and active information, can only hold a limited amount of information at one time. So no matter how capable or smart any of us may be, our physiological makeup only allows us to handle a certain amount of information at once. Therefore, give it in small bites and present it in chunks so we can make sense of it, or else the rest of it is scrap and goes out the window.
And recently I've been hearing many other names for chunked learning. I've heard it called bite size or snacks. And a couple of months ago I saw this article, and quite frankly the title caught my eye, In Learning, Size Matters. It's the title of an article published by Malcolm Pullum in a CLO magazine. He comments that microlearning, so he's calling it microlearning, satisfies immediate knowledge needs to enable performance, and that too much consumption at one time can be painful and stressful, and the value can be lost, and that investments of time and expense may not satisfy the true need. He goes on to talk about the benefits of microlearning. It facilitates knowledge acquisition. It's just enough. It enables employees to learn where they are and have learning be tightly integrated into their work. And here he's talking about development happens on the job. And in the May 1st, 2013 article by Sebastian Bailey, also published in the CLO magazine, Is the Future of Learning Bite Size? Sebastian states that one of the mega trends, he called it a mega trend, in learning is distilling of a learning experience into smaller, more easily consumed packages. And this shift has repercussions for learning and development functions. Previously, a 1 or 2 day program would have been acceptable. Now the market is consistently seeking shorter and sharper experiences with immediate practical application.
And a poll of roughly 200 learning and development practitioners in February of last year showed that more than 90% agreed that they would be looking to miniaturize their learning experiences in the next year or so ahead.
In another article published in Training Industry Quarterly, Spring 2013 edition, author Paul Terry talks about improving learning outcomes by implementing a bite-sized strategy. And he comments, to do this, you have to identify pertinent information, break it down into small pieces, and deliver it to employees one bite at a time. So I'm going to give you an example of how to deliver learning in small bite-sized chunks. If you look at this number for a few minutes, how many of you would be able to repeat the number to another person a few minutes from now, an hour from now, a day from now? I'm guessing not many. I know I would not be able to. However, if you break the number into smaller chunks, the number becomes far easier to remember. And I understand that the research Dr. Miller conducted is the reason phone numbers are written the way they are. Okay, so that was your interesting piece of trivia for the week. Bottom line, long training sessions can lead to information overload and is a significant contributor to scrap learning.
So here's an example of applying chunking to development. So the topic of communication is broad and contains several subtopic areas. Listening, nonverbal communication, delivering clear messages, writing effective emails, keeping others informed, and so on. Each of these subtopics can and should be their own learning course.
And according to Burson by Deloitte, in an article titled "The Corporate Training Market is Exploding," approximately 1/3 of training is delivered through instructor-led workshops, and the other 2/3 is online learning. So to effectively reduce information overload, you want to make sure that all the training you're delivering to your employees is bite-sized, chunked learning. And to assess the average length of e-learning courseware, I went to OpenSesame.com. For those of you who are not familiar with OpenSesame, their strategy is to be the Amazon of e-learning, and they offer more than 20,000 courses covering just about every topic. When I searched two of their libraries, IT training and business soft skills, I found that only a small percent of the courseware out there is bite-sized, chunked learning. The fact is, the majority of online training that's currently available is long.
And as we now know, this strategy matters. It will make a difference in your results. If a company is going to invest in the time and money to train and develop, it just makes sense to make sure you get the most out of the investment and that you have more capable individuals as a result of the effort. Applying these concepts we've discussed today to your development decisions is going to make an enormous difference in your company and for your leaders and employees.
Right. So if we take all of this information, we can boil it down to 5 best practices to consider when building your development strategy or your next learning intervention to produce the best return on investment for your training budget. Aligned. The first one is around alignment. You need to align your development to your business strategies and objectives. Show your learners that if they develop around the organization's learning objectives, individual performance will increase, as will organizational success. Show them the what's in it for me. Provide your learners with just the right amount of learning. Make it easy for them to access when they need it, and provide them with some choices to develop in a way that meets their needs. And development happens on the job. Therefore, learning needs to be embedded into the workflow. It leverages the natural way a person develops. It eliminates the worry of learning transfer and significantly decreases scrap learning. Learning needs to be delivered in small bite-sized chunks. Eliminate information overload and, as a result, scrap learning. Incorporate multiple delivery methods, including video, to appeal to how learners are accustomed to taking in new information. Back it up with graphics, audio, text.
I think that if you can use this simple list as a checklist when you evaluate any development or training program or service, you will find you significantly increase your results. You'll know that not only will you be doing what's intuitive and common sense, but you'll also be doing what is backed up by the best research and experience of the most successful organizations.
And Vado's courses have been built around this research, meaning each topic area has been broken into the smallest possible chunks of bite-sized modules. For instance, we already talked about the topic of communication having a number of subtopic areas, and each subtopic is a separate e-learning course.
So here's another example. So we have 85 courses covering the topic of engagement, and about 15 of those cover feedback. We have 75 courses in the area of project management, and then project management is broken down into 15 topics. And each topic area has 5 courses that support it, such as the area or topic of delegating.
This means that the learner can be very specific, very targeted in focusing on the precise area they need development. And each course starts with a short instructional video.
The purpose of our videos is to create the business case for development, that whistle we talked about earlier. Any learner, after watching the video, knows exactly why he or she should perform the exercise to build the skill. No one's going to ask, why should I do this? In addition, our videos are no more than 2 minutes in length, in high definition, and I think they're fun to watch.
And we help the learner implement what they've just learned in this short instructional video through step-by-step instructions and a job aid.
So these instructions are the heart of the course. Different from traditional e-learning, our courses are meant to create an action or an exercise the learner performs alone or with others. So the specific steps tell the learner what to do, what to prepare for a discussion, or what to practice. We show the learner what to do first, second, third, and so on. Simply put, it's a set of instructions. Therefore, no one has to wonder what to do, and it's all laid out. We found that business leaders who have reviewed our courses often like these instructions the best. They love the specific steps and directions, and they know anyone can follow it and be successful. They also know that if someone performed the exercise on the job, he or she would certainly be building a required skill.
Right, and Bill Tischow from Frasca International manufactures flight simulators for pilots. And he reviewed our courses, and his exact quote is on the screen, and he talks about it's applied during real-life situations, not made-up or mocked-up events. The action part of the training occurs concurrently with actual work, and that has a dual benefit. Training occurs and actual profit-making work gets done at the same time. Pretty powerful statement. And Vado's courses are used in a number of ways. They're a more effective alternative to traditional e-learning, for mobile learning, for blended learning, so like tools to take action after a workshop, tools to take action on an employee survey or 360-degree assessment, homework between coaching sessions. And Kristen Ford, the CEO of Best in Learning and former president of ASTD, sums up Vado's learning content very well. She talks about it having the tools to apply. It activates formal learning, and that if you're you have a limited budget, you need to make a decision between this or that, Vado's courses result in performance change and productivity improvement. We stated at the, oh, I'm sorry, Kim, you had something you were going to add there.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that as the past president of ASTD and the CEO of Best in Learning, Kristen, who Cindy was just referring to, she's seen a lot in the industry. And we personally have had a lot of discussions with her about the nature of learning and development. And she, too, has the development beliefs, the ones we discussed today, as I'm sure many of you do as well. She knows the importance of applying these principles to your development decisions, and she's seen a lot of development initiatives succeed and fail as a result of their application or lack thereof. So no matter what development or training option is best for you and for your company, we encourage you to think about these principles. We know they'll make a difference for you and will help your organization be great.
Great. And one more thing I was going to say is this webinar has been pre-approved by HRCI for 1 hour of continuing education credits. I'm going to leave this slide up while we're entertaining some questions, because for those that are interested in the continuing education credits, you need to take down this program ID number. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions.
Thanks so much, Cindy and Kim. If you do have any questions that you wanted to present to Cindy and Kim, you can go ahead and chat those on your GoToMeeting panel on the right side of your screen, and they'll be happy to address those. I do have a question, Kim, actually. What kind of other courses does Vado have to offer? You've mentioned a few in your presentation, and perhaps the folks would like to know what else you have to offer.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Vado has over 400 courses in our course catalog. We focus on primarily soft skill development. We have courses for managers and supervisors, directors and leaders in terms of really increasing performance, whether it's coaching or feedback, delegating work. And we also have courses for individual contributors. So whether somebody manages others or not, we still need to build our skills and our competencies so that we can perform well in the job that we have and then build our skills for future roles within the company. And so we have what we call individual courses that are really focused on building specific competencies, whether it's communicating with others, developing work relationships, making sure that I have the right feedback so that I'm doing my job well. And all of our bite-sized chunked courses are focused on providing learners those exercises to build those skills as they do work and develop on the job.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, there's someone had sent me over a private message here about mobile, because you mentioned that it's video. Will they be able to view your courses on mobile devices?
Yeah, we get that question quite a bit. As you all know, mobile learning is really taking hold in the industry, and more learners and companies are looking for mobile e-learning courses as part of their overall university or course catalog. And at Vado, we see mobile really from two perspectives. The first one is just from a technology perspective. You need the e-learning course to run properly on a mobile device. Believe it or not, a lot of e-learning courses, while may run effectively on a desktop or a laptop, when you then take that same e-learning course and try to run it on a mobile device, it doesn't work as well. Sometimes some of the functions aren't showing, and it is not the same learning experience and can be quite a diminished learning experience. So from a technical perspective, we have created courses to make sure that they work on a number of different types of mobile devices, whether they're phones or tablets, whether they're iPads or an Android device. And we've partnered with a great e-learning company to make sure that our courses run on all the various mobile devices. So from a technical standpoint, we've got that down. Then the other part is from a user experience. I talked about, taking a traditional e-learning course and going from a desktop or laptop environment straight to the mobile. And one of the challenges is that sometimes the course itself doesn't lend itself well to be viewed or performed on a mobile device. So the way the course is designed, the way the content is presented is really more for that larger screen experience. All of our courses at Vado have been designed with the mobile learner in mind. So not only will the course work on a mobile device, it will be a good learning experience and a good user experience. The video is short and definition. So that helps because learners tend not to want to watch an hour-long video on a mobile device. They want to get a quick little snippet to help them move forward. Each of the steps are very easy to see. At any point I can go do what I have to do next as I'm implementing the course on the job. And as I said, all of Vado's courses are built with the mobile learner in mind.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone else have any other questions that you would like to submit to Cindy and Kim before we wrap up for the day? Okay, well, if there are no further questions then, if you think of something later, please be sure to either email me directly or, Cindy, were you going to provide your email address at all in case anyone has any questions about your various courses that you have to offer? Or do you want them to just email me directly?
Either way is fine, and I'm sorry I didn't have that on our slide deck, the email address.
Okay, yeah, no problem. No problem. Okay, so if anyone has any further questions, oh, there's actually one that came in. The PowerPoint, I do have a recorded session that's available. Cindy, would you be able to provide the PowerPoint as well for folks that might be interested? We have Shanta who's interested in that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. The answer to your question, Shanta, is yes. I will definitely email that to you later today. So again, thank you very much for joining us today, Kim and Cindy from Vado. It was a very informative session, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it very much. I do want to thank everyone again for attending today's webinar, and be sure to register for our future webinar events. We have How to Write a Business Plan for Funding coming up on February 12th. We also have Office 2013 new features on March 10th, and 11 tips for improved UST compliance on March 24th. So be sure to look out for invitations in your email to those webinar events hosted by Coggno. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. I will be emailing you a discount to take advantage of all of Vado's courses, and I hope to see you again at our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.